Recently, major events in the international community have really emerged one after another, and the world situation seems to be developing in a more chaotic and dangerous direction. No, according to the latest news, the conflict between the United States and Iran in the Gulf region has broken out again recently. The US military even fought with the Iranian Navy again. Domineering opened fire on the US tanker, completely clarifying his attitude, and the US, which has always been domineering, seems to have been hit in the head. Today we will talk about this matter in detail. According to relevant reports, on July 5, a confrontation broke out between the United States and Iran in the Strait of Hormuz, and according to the US side, the reason for this confrontation was that the Iranian Navy tried to seize the US oil tanker in international waters. At that time, two Iranian naval ships shouted at the US tanker in the international waters of the Gulf of Oman and more than 20 miles from the coast of Oman, demanding that it stop sailing, and used shipborne weapons to attack the US tanker in the process of intercepting the US tanker. Several long-distance bursts were fired, and several bullets hit the hull of the tanker. Regarding this, the United States was naturally very anxious and panicked, and quickly dispatched the guided missile destroyer McFall, patrol aircraft, and Reaper drones to rescue. After a confrontation, the Iranian ships finally left. Regarding this matter, although the situation was barely under control in the end, there was no situation where the oil tanker was actually seized and the truth about the US stealing oil from Syria and other places was revealed, but this incident undoubtedly still made the US very angry. You must know, this is the first time that the Iranian Navy has fired on the initiative in the process of intercepting a US ship. This fully shows that Iran's waist is completely upright now, and it is no longer polite to the United States, and it even wants to take the initiative to launch a counterattack. In the future, Iran will attack the United States. The attitude will only become more and more tough. This is also the fundamental reason why the United States never dared to act rashly and did not fire after Iran fired directly. Obviously, the United States, which has been involved in a lot of energy and resources in the Asia-Pacific region and the Russian-Ukrainian battlefield, now does not want to provoke another Iran in the Middle East. It can manufacture drones, warships, fighter jets, hypersonic missiles and other weapons. A big country with a complete military industry chain. So this time, don't look at what the US said as if the US military finally won a big victory and successfully pushed back the Iranian naval ships, but in fact, the US side was quite humiliated and thrilling in this incident. In the Gulf region, I am afraid it will only become more frightening. It is worth mentioning that before this confrontation, Iran had just officially joined the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and increased cooperation with major countries such as China and Russia. Therefore, this matter is actually explained from the side. With the continuous development of the economy, Iran is now less and less affected by the sanctions of the United States and the West. Even if it does not rely on the West at all, it can also welcome its own major development opportunities. Therefore, in terms of military affairs, Iran, which has no worries about the future, naturally there is no need to make any compromises with the US. Then, many people may be a little worried. If Iran is so tough, if one day it really angers the United States completely and a conflict breaks out between the two sides, then with the strength of the United States, Iran will still suffer a lot. But in fact, the United States really does not have such courage and strength. If the two sides really do something, the only one who will suffer the most is the United States itself. Why do you say that? You know, the United States has waged a war in Afghanistan for 20 years, but it couldn't even deal with such an isolated and helpless Taliban army, and finally withdrew in embarrassment. From the perspective of major countries with friendly relations, the strength far exceeds that of Afghanistan, and Iran is still holding on to the oil lifeline of the United States, as well as its long-range strike capabilities against a large number of US bases in the Middle East. However, not only can the United States fail to defeat Iran, but the painful price it will pay will even far exceed the losses in Afghanistan. So this time, even if the US side no longer wants to admit cowardice, it can only admit cowardice in front of a tough bone like Iran. All in all, it is still the same sentence: heaven has reincarnation, who is spared by heaven. The reason why Iran aggressively opened fire on the United States today is entirely because the United States previously seized Iranian oil tankers and unscrupulously exercised hegemony against Iran. Today, when Iran I am completely determined to fight to the end, and when I can no longer endure, the United States will finally start to pay for what it has done. In the future, whether it is a US military ship or other American ships, if they want to pass through the Strait of Hormuz and the Gulf region, I am afraid everyone has to worry about it, and they will no longer have the domineering and arrogant posture of the past.